Talk and Rock Radio, where friends meet at the intersection of life, inspiration, and music. Here's your host, Rick Kern.
Welcome, everyone, to Talk and Rock Radio. You know, today's a special day because a few days ago, my wife and I were seeing a piece on CNN that just really tweaked our interest. This story is one of those feel-good stories that I just thought, you know, this has to happen. I want this on my podcast. So I did a little research and I found these guys. One was in Pinetop, Arizona, and the other one was in LA. And we hooked up the same day and talked, and I told them what I wanted to do with this episode, and they agreed to do it. So at this time, I'd like to welcome Jed and Josh Mottley. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having us, Rick.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, this whole story, I know you guys have been so busy with CNN and, you know, Inside Edition. You've got people calling you all from all over the world. And having you on my show today, I thought, you know, as I dove into this thing and found out that you were both musicians, that's what really piqued my interest, because I not only wanted to share this story, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your music and how things have been going. You're both very accomplished musicians. So, but let's go ahead and talk. Josh, why don't you go ahead and talk about the story a little bit?
Okay, so I think it was November 3rd. It was a Wednesday. I just finished up mixing my new Paper Mache Kisses album, and I got done and I just had this feeling I wanted to go out and go thrift store shopping, which I do sometimes because I like finding, you know, cool stuff. And all the stores up here, you know, they give to like homeless shelters, veterans, dog and cat stuff, you know, that sort of thing. So I'd rather spend my money at those places. So I got up, I told my wife I was going to go out again. And I really did have a feeling I was going to find something cool. And she kind of made fun of me a little bit, you know, because I'm always saying that. But I always come home with cool stuff. And, but, you know, so basically I got in my car, drove around to a few, didn't find anything. And right before the last store that I went to, which is just past my house a little bit, a lot of times I just will go straight home from there. But they Veterans Village got into a new, a really big place. And they had just kind of opened and I hadn't been in there yet. So I went in there and, you know, I'm looking around and they had all these Letterman jackets hanging up kind of in the back of the store. And on the very first one was this bright red one. And they were chaparral colors. And I knew that. And as I got closer, I saw the chaparral thing. And then, you know, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. And I walked up and then I looked down and there was 94. And I thought, that's Jed's year. And I look over and I see his name. You know, my first thought is it was brand new, that this can't be his, because it was, first of all, brand new. I didn't even know he had a jacket. And my first thought was, well, maybe this was his jacket and he lost it, or, you know, I don't know. But I just thought it'd be funny to send him a picture. I mean, I almost didn't send anything at all. It was just something was eating at me to do it. And so I sent him a picture and I call him and I was like, hey, man, did you get that picture I sent? And I was like, is there any other Jeds that go to Chaparral? And he's like, no, I'm the only one. And I was like, well, dude, look at your phone. And so he looks at it and you know, I got him on speaker and he starts freaking out. He was like, that's my jacket. And I was like, what do you mean it's your jacket? I was like, it's brand new. And I said, I didn't even know you had a jacket. He's like, no, we couldn't afford it. And he's like, Mom couldn't afford it. And that's the jacket. And then I took another picture of it because it said wide receiver 1, just to double check. And he was like, yeah, that's it. And so he's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm at a thrift store. And so, you know, he's like, well, buy it. And I was like, well, of course I'm going to buy it. But I go over and we were making such a commotion that the other guys in the store who work there, they're veterans and stuff. And, you know, they give them jobs there. And there's a guy named Paul. He was really nice. And he's like, yeah, it's just $25. And so I'm like, yeah, this is my brother's jacket from 30 years ago. And, you know, it's kind of confusing because at the very beginning, like nobody really caught the significance of what was going on. I wasn't even sure because I still wasn't positive right away. It just felt weird. Like there's no way. And so, they said some guy just dropped them off, and that's all I got the first day was that. And, I take it home and I walk in, and I didn't even call the wife. I just walked in and I'm holding this thing up, and she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's my brother's Letterman jacket." And, it took her a minute too. She's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "From 94, he never got it." And it was like, then she started freaking out. Like it takes a second to sink in at first when it first started happening. And, I'm calling Jed back and forth. And I was like, "Would you want me to send it to you?" And he's like, No. He's like, "Hold on." He's like, "Let me think about what to do here, because this is insane." So at that point, I think he started posting stuff. And then next thing I know, he's like, "Yeah, they're going to do a story on." And so, I drove down there and saw him, and we did it live on TV. But at that point, we can go over to him if you want. And he can kind of tell you what actually happened, because I honestly don't really know how this turned into such a big thing so quickly.
Well, I will never forget that phone call and Josh saying, "Dude, was there any other Jeds at Chaparral in 94? And I'm like, "No, just one." and he sent me the picture, and I couldn't believe it. I knew instantly it was mine, because I went down to the store that day, or a day in 93 or 94, to design the jacket. And I put my name and the patches everywhere, so I could envision what it was going to look like, but I never saw the final product. So when it was time to pick it up, Mom couldn't afford it. And it was just one of those things. We had kind of a rough childhood. It was just another speed bump that you had to get over and move forward. And I thought about it over the years. And that was amazing. When I saw the picture, I knew it immediately. And I said, "How much is it?" He goes, he's on speaker, goes, "How much is it?" I could hear him going, "25. And I'm like, "Buy it right now, buy it." And since that moment, it's been really crazy. It's been really crazy. I posted on social media and got a crazy reaction. And then one of my, a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and at Chaparral, she was a cheerleader, on the football team. And she's one of the top broadcasters in Phoenix right now. Her name's Jamie Soretta. And I sent it to her, and she was just floored. And she called me the next day and said, "My station loves this story." And I said, "Well, I'm coming to pick it up. I haven't seen my brother in a long time. This is bringing us back together right now." I said, "Do you want to, should we," she's like, "You guys want to come do this on TV?" So we did it on Good Morning Arizona. It was amazing. Then I went over to ABC 15 and I did another story, and it exploded. ABC 15 sent it out to every affiliate in the country. Next thing you know, Josh and I are getting calls from everywhere, everywhere, from people seeing this on the news. And then, yeah, like you said, Rick, CNN, and we did Inside Edition, and it's not stopping right now. I don't know if it's going to keep going or if it's going to stop. Every night we go to bed, we're like, "All right, that's it," and things just keep going. Rick, what else do you want to know about this jacket?
Well, first of all, I'm seeing a spiritual moment about this story that really moved me when I talked further with you and your brother. After I read the story and everything, I'm going, your mom has something to do with all of this going on. Y'all want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can go first. So, my mom was always heavily into both of our lives. I was in a band since I was like, 10 or something. And when I got to about 14, she started managing us. And, till about the time I was like maybe 28, she was the manager of a bunch of my stuff. I had put out a few CDs over the years. And, one of my bands, Nowhere Dreamer, was like the top band in Phoenix, and we won awards. And we came really close to getting signed with Sony at one point, right before the whole grunge thing happened. And then that happened. And, and then I reinvented ourselves, started, made new bands. And just over the years, she did all this stuff. And then, I was in this band called Buddhistic, and Jed went on the road with us. We went out to California to play. And when we were in LA, he was like, I think he was in college at the time. And he had like the greatest, probably better than I had, better time. He was just having a blast. And, we were playing all these shows, and there's all these 80s rock stars that were hanging out, and just fun stuff happened. And after that, he was like, man, that was like the best. He's like, I think he was going to college to be a business major or something. And so then he's like, well, will you teach me, or what's a good instrument to start on? And honestly, like, man, there's a shortage of bass players in the world. And it's an easier than the guitar to get good at, a little bit less strings or whatever. And so we started with that. And I told him, I said, if you get a band together, I said, I will open up for you on your first show. And, not thinking anything about it, because I just didn't think, I mean, literally, I think he almost dropped out of school because he was playing bass so much. He calls me like, I've been playing bass more than I've been doing my my schoolwork. And he's like, but I got some guys here at U of A. That's where he went. He's like, and we're putting together a band. And I said, well, it's still on. If you get a band, I'll open up. Next thing you know, I'm driving down to Tucson with my band, opening up for his band. And I mean, it was like the coolest thing ever, because he had so many people were there. Jed knows everybody. Just one of those guys that he's got a laugh everyone loves. He gets along with everybody. And I mean, I still can see that night like it was yesterday. So anyways, my mom was there, and and then over the years, she started having some back problems and some other problems, and she got some surgeries. Well, those surgeries ended up with, back then, there was not one doctor who oversaw all your meds. And so she was getting like 6 painkillers from different doctors. And she would go see a back doctor and another doctor and another doctor. And they were all prescribing, to where I think after she died, I found like 7 different prescriptions of Vicodins, hydrocodones, Percocets, Oxycontins. And then on top of that, I think, her pain was so bad that she was drinking a little bit at night. And I didn't really, I was taking care of her for a while, but I moved up to Prescott at the time, and she was down in Phoenix. And I'll go down there and check on her and help her out with stuff. But I did not realize she was one of those people that grew up in the 50s. And if the doctor told you to take something, she took it. She didn't really realize what she was doing. She was probably an addict, but didn't even realize she was, but she wasn't a bad person. She wasn't like some heroin drug addict or something on the street. She was still the most amazing mom ever. And so, near the end there, I was concerned pretty much every day going on. I kind of knew what was going on, but I didn't realize, I didn't know her kidneys could fail. So, at one point her kidneys failed. A friend of mine went down there, and he couldn't get into her house, and they finally got in, and she was in a coma, but nobody knew she was in a coma. And, they rushed her to the hospital, and she was in there for, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 days. I can't remember. It all happened pretty fast. Jed flew in, my aunt flew in, and there was a bunch of people. I mean, a lot of people there. And, we had to, we ended up having just to pull, she wouldn't come out of a coma, and her kidneys were basically destroyed. So there's really nothing we could do. And so we pulled the plug on her, and it was, one of the worst experiences of my life. But before that happened, I'd have a lot of talks with her, and she was super religious over the years. She always, had us going to church every Christmas, Easter, stuff like that. Jed would fly in from LA or wherever he was, and we would all go together and we spend it. And, she was, after she stopped managing my band, when her health problems kind of kicked in, one of her big things was, well, if I die, I'm going to give you a sign. And I'm also going to try to talk to God about, seeing if we can get your music out there. Cause she tried. I mean, back in the 90s, there was no internet. We had to send out, everything was packages, thousands of dollars a month. And this was in the late 90s, and we had a backer, and she just worked her ass off, So it was, when she died, a part of me was obviously upset, but there's a part of me that knew, she was going to go to heaven, and I knew she was religious. She was a great person. So I never thought, there'd be anything wrong with that. But I honestly, as sad as it was, she was in so much pain all the time, and she was so unhappy that it wasn't like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but when someone's suffering, I don't know. I don't know, she was suffering pretty bad. So it was just one of those things. But I know that, Jed and I were everything to her. I mean, she was a single mom. She raised us through thick and thin, being poor, barely eating at times throughout our childhood. And she raised us, and she got us to where we are now, really. And she was a great mom. So, I guess when I had the jacket and, he started telling me my mom couldn't afford it, of course, that one of the first things I thought of was that. So that this could be a sign from her. But, even if it was just that and nobody cared about this story, it was still a really cool moment. But now that all these other things are happening, it's starting to feel, like maybe she does have something to do with this, because, the other day we were talking to Canada with the Howard Stern of Canada, and there was probably 12 million people listening. And it was weird because, we're talking to all these people, and now you're asking us about our music, and maybe something will happen with it. I don't know. But either way, it's been a really cool few weeks. Me and Jed back together. We've talked every day, many times a day. We always talk, but this day now. And just that alone has been great. And then there's been so much outpouring of people who love this story, who knew my mom. And now, they're showing my mom on TV and stuff. So just that alone is amazing. She would be freaking out if she saw, and I'm sure she does know about all this. So to me, this is a great ending to, kind of a sad story at one point. I feel a lot better about her dying and a lot of stuff like that. So it's been kind of therapeutic,
I had not heard all of this part of your mom's demise and what happened with her, and I'm so sorry for your loss. This resonates so close to me right now, guys, because my mom passed away with very similar situation. She had back problems. She had surgery. Surgery went bad. She was on a lot of pain management, in a very similar situation with the drugs getting out of hand. So, and I lost my mom quite a few years ago, but it's very similar. She was very supportive, as both of my parents were. When we played up in Canada, they flew up there to see us in Winnipeg, and they just loved us. Always supported everything I did with my music. And so, yeah, I think about my mom and my dad all the time and how they supported me. And so this is incredible that you have the support system that many musicians sometimes don't have, but we were blessed in that fashion to have parents that really cared for us and wanted to see our success. Let's talk a little bit about the success that you guys have had. I've done some research, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen in both of you guys. Jed, I'm about 20 years older than both of you guys. I know I only look 39, but hey, it's what it is. I'm 71, and I was out in LA for a long time. We played out there. We played some nice rooms and everything. But the thing that impressed me the most about you guys is your passion and your persistence to keep pursuing what you believe in and what you love doing. And watching, the videos and hearing the music that, that you guys have been playing. First of all, Jed, Feed the Kitty. I mean, what a neat band, man. You guys have been together over 20 years, right?
Yeah, it's been over 20 years. And, our mom always wanted us to pursue our dream. And we are, it's a story of determination at this point, that we've been going for 23 years. We could have quit so many times, but every single year got a little bit better, and we just keep on going. And right now, this is people are listening to our music all over the world right now that have never heard of us because of this jacket. And that makes me feel really good. I appreciate all the nice things you're saying.
Well, what's really exciting to me too, when you shared this with me the other day, is that you're working in David Grohl's studio, Studio 606, producing your latest album. It's all really exciting. I'm glad that you're doing this. I'm glad you're in a good place with good vibes and working with great people. Talk about Lost and Found a little bit.
Yeah, this is the third album that we're doing out of Studio 606, produced by John Lusto. Lost and Found is a song I wrote right before the pandemic. It almost sounds like I wrote it about the jacket. The first line is 20 years gone. I think it's 28 years gone. And then we wrote a lot of the rest of the songs. We wrote about 30 or 35 during the pandemic, and we chose our favorite 10 that we're putting together for this album. Lost and Found, the song is really about coming down from a 20-year party. I finally sobered up about 7 years ago, and the song's really about dealing with addiction. And this whole album is about really just what happened in the world and in the way I felt about it. And Jack Maher Jr., the lead singer and guitarist of this band, co-writes these songs with me, and he does a really great job. I couldn't do it without him.
20 years gone, been way too long. And back then, we could do no wrong. We traveled all this way, we got so much to say. But time, it won't let us stay. It's alright. We went through hell and back again. Living life was our only sin. Well, come back down. We flew to the clouds and crashed to the ground. You'll find us there at the lost and found. We'll pass the time, make it a tonic and light. In those days the sunshine shines so fine. Not a care in the world, daddy's little girl. But not every oyster's gonna give you a pearl. And it's alright. We went through hell and back again. Living life was our only sin. Well, come back down.
And this album right now, before this jacket happened, it meant a lot to me. Now it really, really means a lot to me. A song called "Don't Give Up" is on there, and that's pretty much that could sum up my entire story. So.
It's only time we can't replace. Don't give up, don't panic, please don't worry. Without a fight, the message just gets lost. In space, man, let's fly to the moon. Suntan, your skin burns at noon. Remind me, the race starts in June. Don't give up. There's a moral.
Another song called "Days of New," and we're just real happy with the way it's turning out. We're about 60-70% done with it, and I can't wait to share it with the world.
You know, I see where you've had Allman Brothers Dickie Betts' son playing with you guys a lot. Now, did Duane Betts play with you guys on this album?
Yes, he's on the track "Lost and Found." also featuring Rami Jaffe, who's played in the Wallflowers and the Foo Fighters currently. And Duane Betts is just a great guy and an amazing guitar player. Him and Jack work really well together. Their styles are different, but they really complement each other. Duane, on our last album that released in January of 2020, was called Ain't Dead Yet. He was on 4 of those tracks, and he wrote one of them called Thank You. So, and he wrote it, I think 100%. So, Duane stuck with us and he's played with us probably 30 times live. And, he's been with us at the Viper Room and down at a festival in Hermosa Beach. And we love Duane.
Well, and you played some really cool places, man. The Troubadour lately. I know you played over there with Navarro and his group. I tell you what, I watched some video of that performance, man.
Cool.
That drummer, of course, I've always been a Foo Fighters fan anyway, but to watch these guys play such high energy, it's one of the power groups that I just can't get enough of. They're so good,
So good. Taylor's one of the best drummers out there. I got to watch the Foo Fighters at a small club last August up here in the Valley, and Taylor is just amazing, man. His playing is amazing. It's so high energy.
Well, and he sings well too.
He's a great singer. He's a great front man. It's he's really fun to watch.
Yeah. So how much elbow rubbing have you all been doing with Dave Grohl's? Any, a lot of time with him in the studio, or is he out a lot?
We say we've been there, I don't know, 100 different days. He's probably popped in 10 of them where next thing you know, he's standing there, and he couldn't be nicer. He's complimented us on our music. He's candid as well. He's just, it's cool, man. There's a vibe going on when Dave walks in the room. So it's amazing. I've met all the Foo Fighters over there at different times, and they all are so nice. So I feel like I'm living in a dream right now. I can't believe that that we're going through the famous Neve board that was at Sound City, and all those major bands went through there. Nirvana did their album there in '94, and for Dave to buy that Neve, bring it to his studio, and then let other bands come use it, he doesn't have to do that.
That's so cool, man. That is so cool. The closest we ever came to anything like that possibly happening when I was playing out there and we were recording in Hollywood was at Studio 54. A friend of mine owned that studio, Richard Perry and Howard Steele. Howard Steele's a friend of mine from El Paso, and he's produced a lot of big names. And Toto was discovered in his garage studio. Okay, so he invited my wife and I over to Studio 54 to watch Jeff Porcaro lay down a track for Diana Ross on her new album. And so we went over there, and just sitting there in drummer royalty, watching this guy work with these guys in the control room, and these are guys that have produced, just you name it, they've done so many, and just incredible vibe, just nothing like it. Unfortunately, our band never recorded in there. We went to some little independent place down the street or whatever, I guess, but did our thing there. But still, you guys are in a great place you're in a great place to be doing that. I'm so happy for you, and I'm glad to see you guys being persistent, keep working at it. Everything that I've seen you guys do and what I've heard, I'm really liking. So it's just a matter of timing at the right place, and I think we just lost Jed. I don't know. You just faded out. Okay. You're back. Okay. So,
let me just say one more thing too. I wouldn't be the musician I am today without my brother, Josh. He taught me how to guitar. Josh is a lefty. I'm a righty. So when we faced each other, it was a mirror image.
Yeah. That's so cool.
He's my idol. His work ethic was amazing as a kid. He just sat in his room and wrote and practiced, and that really inspired me, and it still does.
Now you're about 4 years older than him, right, Josh?
Yeah.
3, 4, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about what you're doing, Josh. I know we talked briefly about landing in Pinetop, and I know you probably wanted to get away from what you've indicated to me from bigger cities or whatever. Have you found your utopia there in Pinetop?
Yeah, I think so. Let me just take it back a little bit. So I've been in bands since I was a little kid. And like Jed back in the 90s, we opened up for a lot of bands. And got really close a few times with, Sony Records, other things where they're, I thought we were going to get signed to big labels. Um, and, the bands I had back then, we were all really young in our 20s. And, I don't even know if we could have stuck around because everyone, it was so volatile. Some of the situations I was in with people who were amazing musicians, but could not get along with each other, And then I was in a cover band for a long time and I realized you could make money, playing. And before that, it was all original music and we never made a dime. And then for years, I played in a cover band called the Wild Angels Band in Phoenix. And we played everywhere. We played all up and down California and Las Vegas and all that stuff. But when that band finally broke up, I had a studio and everything out there. I went into kind of a depression and I wanted to get out of Phoenix. I got addicted to some drugs that I didn't want to be on. And with, like Jed said, the partying got out of control. And I'm constantly making albums regardless of whether or not I was on drugs or not. My work ethic, like he said, is every year if I don't do one album, I do many. And then I also produce other people's albums. So, the older I was getting, at one point I even moved out to LA to try to get into a band out there because I had the gear, I had the chops, I could sing, and I hated LA. Like it was one of the worst places I've ever been in my life trying to drive around. Just that alone made me want to never go back. And Jed thrives out there. I was out there for 6 months and I hated it. And so I came back to Arizona and then ended up going up to Flagstaff and I kind of sold everything. I started getting sick. I was having some intestinal problems. I didn't know what. And so I went up there and I kind of sold everything. I got rid of everything I owned. I was kind of like disenchanted. I moved around to Sedona, to Prescott. And then that's when Mom died in Prescott. And at that point I was doing art. I was making big canvas pieces of art with a friend of mine. His name was Amarist. And we were doing, like I would do photography and he would say, and we'd make big canvases and he would paint on top of these things. And then 2008 hit and the whole market for art went down the tube because of the big money thing that happened when Wall Street crashed. Nobody had money to spend $1,500 on a piece of art. And so I had some money. And as it dwindled away, I decided to try something completely different. And I moved to Iowa with this girl I was with at the time. And that's where my stomach exploded from diverticulitis. And I spent about 1.5 years with holes in my stomach. And during that time, I came back to doing music again because I had nothing to do. And it was freezing there. Like it was like -30 in the winters, terrible. Like I'll never go back to the Midwest again. And, but all I had was like a MIDI keyboard and my computers. And I started doing instrumental music again. I had a publisher who talked me back into doing some albums. And we did these Josh Mottley albums that were all instrumental music, tried to get back. I mean, for a while in the 90s, I was doing some TV and film and I was trying to get back into that. No singing because I couldn't really sing. I had, my intestines were literally hanging outside of my body. And I did like 100 songs. We still have some stuff we're going to be putting out, but that got me back into it. And then I somehow, after they put me back together and they filled the holes in and I got better, I got this big disability check. And because I hadn't worked and, it's funny, Jed actually helped me survive through that time period. And if I didn't have him, I don't know if I would have been in a home or something. It was bad. Like it was really bad. He helped pay my bills. He helped pay part of my rent. And I can never not, I don't even, the gratitude towards him for that, I don't know what I would have done. So that alone, that he did that is amazing. And then I found this job in California, taking care of this little old lady living in Truckee, which is near Tahoe. And it was in this like big giant mansion, log cabin. The family couldn't take care of her. And so I was there for a couple of years taking care of her. And then she fell one day, decided she was done. and she just died. And so I didn't know where to go. So that's when the story kind of starts, where I threw a dart at a map. I've been in everywhere in Arizona, but I wanted to come back. The only place I hadn't been on is on the east side of Arizona, where Pinetop, Shoalo, Lakeside, all that stuff is. So I called somebody. They actually let me rent a place with sight unseen, and we drove back. And I for like 3 years I had terrible health problems. But the month I got here, I found a job teaching music at the music store here, and it just so happened that the lady who had been teaching there for 12 years was moving like the day I went in there, and he had nobody. And so I got a job immediately at Majestic Music in Shoalo. And Jeff Barber, the owner, I mean, he's amazing. It's just him and I there. I teach 8 instruments. And so like I started feeling music again, And so then, about a year, I met this girl, Kim Zunner, that we started playing in a band called Covered in Sun. It's all cover music, just to make extra money. And then I met my wife. She walked in to have her kid take lessons, and we started talking, and she had just gotten divorced. And within like 6 months, actually within a few months, I knew I wanted to ask her to marry me. And so within 6 months we got engaged. And then within the year we were married, and her parents helped us get a house. And that's where I built my studio now. So I've been making records, but it has been pain in the ass. Like I'm like in 3x5 bedrooms, making great sounding records because I know how. I've been doing this for a long time. So just with a few little pieces of equipment, I can make albums that sound just as good as anybody else. But now I have a giant garage. I've got all the instruments I've ever wanted. Things have changed in the last few years. My luck went from terrible, holes in your stomach, wanting to die on, painkillers every day, to finally getting off all drugs. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat. I don't eat sugar. I don't drink, no dairy. I've lost a lot of weight. I feel great. I still have problems with my back because of the surgeries I've had. And the last couple of years, I've even had a bunch more surgeries to fix this stuff. And it has not been easy. Every day is difficult. But I am now being able to make, these Paper Mache Kisses albums, playing the drums, the bass, the guitar, the keys. I've got vocal boosts. I've got mics. I've got, first time in my life, I have a Marshall. And through these shows and through working, I'm able to make just enough money. And I'm still on disability. I'm not making a lot. I'm making just enough to survive, but just enough that I can put this back into back into, myself, to create these new albums. And during the pandemic, I made like 5 albums. I went crazy because it was the first time I had a house in a long time, maybe 10 years. And so I just sat down here every day and I wrote. I went nuts. Last year was a big year. This year I've got a new album coming out on the 1st. And, I do collaborations with people all over. But, my journey has been just one of almost like I've destroyed myself, and now I'm building myself back up again. And this whole thing has been amazing because, I don't know why I'm even doing it, because there's really no reason. Nobody's asking me for music, but on Pandora, I've got over 200,000 plays, and I'm starting to get people sending me messages about how much they love stuff. And I know people are listening. It's like 15,000 streams a month, and it's going really good. Nobody really knows about it. So I'm hoping this can get some people to realize that, there's people out there making good music, but if you're not on a big label, it's really hard in America. And I've had success overseas, but I've been on every internet station in the world. I've had #1 songs, but I cannot break in America. And I've been trying to do it since I was a little kid. And Jed is the same thing. He's been trying to break over here. Now, Jed is working, like he said, with some of the best equipment in the world. And he's ready to go. He's got his band's ready to go. I'm one of those people that if something happened, I would hire the, people I'd want to hire. And I would, they would probably have to redo a lot of the stuff on those big boards. But really, if something happens, great. If something doesn't happen, I'm just happy where I'm at. I love doing music. I love teaching. I love playing every summer. And I love recording. It's like, that's the thing I'm into. And I love producing. So that's where I'm at. That's kind of my story to how I even got to Pinetop, to even be able to find that jacket. If I didn't have a house, I wouldn't be thrift shopping, because, I've been filling my house up with cool stuff I found over the years. And I never would even gone into that place. So to find that jacket for me is incredible because of my story where, I almost was dead a few years ago, So to get to where I'm at now, and I am happy for the first time in my whole life. I'm happy in this, and I've been happy for the last couple of years since I met my wife, and everything's been falling into place. It's crazy.
Josh,
So,
keep doing what you're doing, my friend, because hitting the big time isn't everything. Okay.
no,
I know a lot of people that have hit the big time, and they're not all that happy. Okay.
yeah,
They're
Right.
happy for a while and all that, and yeah, the glamour's all very cool and all that, but it's not the forever happy that you're going to get by the woman you married, the place you're living, the people that you're around, the passion that you have, and you're doing what you want to do. Your mom is your biggest cheerleader right now. She helped you find that jacket. She's helping you keep your passion on fire. So I'm a firm believer in all this, and just keep it up, man. I want to ask you a couple backstories about your songs. Slowly We Collide. Tell me about that one. What was the backstory to writing that song?
God, so that song's, like a lot of my music lately has been just stories about, meeting my wife. That's kind of like, you finally, I've been searching like for someone who I connected with for like 45 years before I met her. And when I met her, it was like, it's hard to explain because, until you found somebody, you just, just everyone was wrong. And the day I met her, and within a couple of weeks, I knew that she was the one. So a lot of the songs that I write are kind of about that, are about just meeting her, and the kind of, like my songs went from depressing, dark to everything's about light now, and trying to change who I was.
Light breaks through the trees. Early morning I watch you sleep. Peaceful and strange dreams, running from something that you can't see. I know it's okay. Often people don't know what to say. I know that you'll be fine when you wait time after time. Slowly we collide, our hands and our eyes melting like these rain clouds in the sky. Slowly we collide, my hands on your thighs, melting like these candles in the night.
From darkness into light, and everything is about that. Everything I do is about, people, no matter what the situation is, whether it's drugs or, bad life or parents or whatever it may be, is you got, just like Jet said, you got to keep going. You cannot give up. Only one time did I take a break. I didn't stop. And I found myself right back in it again. It was like God just pushed me right back in it. I didn't even have a choice, really. So now, most of my music is just about finding, like, not giving up and finding that thing in your life that means something to you. And if you give up, you're not going to find it.
Does the song Moon is in Saturn, does that resonate the same kind of feeling that you're talking about in all of this?
Some of the new album is, after the pandemic, is a little bit sarcastic. I had a lot of time to think about I've written a lot of albums about a lot of things. And this year, a lot of that the new album is about the ridiculousness that I saw this year through the media. And, people pretending to know, how people say, the moon is in Sagittarius or all these things. It's kind of like, you can't tell what the future is going to bring, because I mean, who knew I was going to find a jacket and then have that be the thing, that wants people want to talk to us. But it's, like I have a song, I Won't Miss Me. It's about like, I do not miss myself, who I was before. It's kind of sad, but at the same time, though, I'm creating a new version of myself. And it's kind of like taking on what happened, and everyone in the whole world was affected. So everyone kind of knows. I think when they hear the songs, they'll know what I'm talking about. Just you can't tell the future. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there's good people who lost their whole lives, who lost their businesses. I mean, they didn't do anything wrong. I know people who lost everything. So, but you have to adapt. I mean, I lost everything. I thought I was going to never sing again, and I adapted, I changed, and now I'm back. So every bad thing that happens is an opportunity to become a good thing. And that's what God is. We're not here to have a perfect life. We're here to have struggle and to learn from it and not give up. And that's really the only thing that I think all the songs are about, is that they're just different stories about different things.
Well said, man. Well said. Jed, any final comments from you, buddy? We've been talking a lot. I want to hear from you a little more.
Just to touch on that, it's like I've written some love songs, breakup songs, that something so painful can sound so beautiful when you write a song about it later on. And it's the same thing with the jacket. Something so painful 28 years ago is something so beautiful right now. So there is a correlation with this and music and life and love, and it's just unbelievable. I've said this before. This whole experience has given me faith in humanity and hope that anything is possible, and that's what our parents taught us. Our mom said that from day one. You guys can do anything you want. So I love that Josh is still doing what he's doing. It was always weird over those years when he wasn't doing it; just didn't feel right. And when he got back in that band, when he moved to Pinetop, it felt better for me in my life. So I'm just so glad he's doing what he's doing right now, and we're on a little roller coaster ride, and I hope it just keeps going up from here.
Guys, I really appreciate you taking the time with me today. I know you guys are doing all the right stuff, everything. I mean, I've gotten to know you. I feel like I've known you all my life.
You too.
You guys are the real deal, and I really appreciate you sharing your stories. The jacket story is phenomenal, and no, we're not done with the jacket story yet. You guys, you need to probably get you a secretary.
Publicist, a PR person, a manager, an agent.
Hey man, if I was about 30 years younger, I'd offer my services and come over there and help you out. Go back to Newport Beach where I used to live and buy a house and start all over. No, I don't want to do that again. But
man, thank you, Rick. You're amazing, man. I love your energy, and I really appreciate you having us on here and spreading what we're doing.
thank
Me
you,
too.
Jed. I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you for taking the moment with me and believing in what I'm doing, because I certainly believe in what you guys are doing and what you just accomplished with this story. It's phenomenal. I know it's overwhelming for you right now, but it's the storm before the calm. Okay, the calm will come. Is that cliche enough? Anyway.
I think that could be in a new song.
Yeah, there you go. You never know.
Never know.
Josh, thank you for your time, buddy. And
Yeah, thank you.
and don't get snowed in up there in Pinetop.
Oh, nothing yet. So we're
All right.
happy.
Who knows? El Paso may get snow before you do. We never know here,
Right.
man. It gets kind of weird here in El Paso sometimes. But anyway, thanks guys for doing the show with me. And let's stay in touch, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. God bless. Have great holidays, okay?
You too. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Cool.